Hello, welcome to the University of Brighton podcast. I'm Richard Newman. This is the fortnightly podcast which features news and interviews from around the university, from our students to our academics and researchers. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. If you're not, please do share with fellow students and staff. This week, we're having a catch up with the Brighton Students' Union to have a chat about refreshers and a few other bits too. So joining me is Vice President for Activities, Meg Donovan, and the BSU's Events Manager, Amellia Brown. Thanks for your time, both of you. Okay, so let's start with you, Meg. I think we last talked ahead of the start of the academic year. And I think if we're honest, we didn't think back then we would be 2 more national lockdowns down come February. How have you found the last few months?
I think it was back in September, October that we spoke. I think, it's been weird, but I think the students have been really resilient at the same time, because it's been a really hard time for them, but especially the societies, the student societies. They've been so resilient with everything they're doing. Like you'd think a lot of them would just give up because everyone's so sick of Zoom, but they're still going because they're so dedicated to making sure other students feel, welcome at Brighton. So it's been really nice to see, but also at the same time, it's obviously been really hard for a lot of students.
And we'll come to how we're all a bit sick of Zoom a little bit later on. That we all cope in different ways. What do you find, Meg, works for you when you're feeling a little bit down? Because I think all of us get to that point every now and again. This feels like it's been the hardest of the 3 lockdowns, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is definitely the hardest. I saw a thing on Twitter the other day, and it was like lockdown 1 was about like exercising and like baking bread. The second one was watching Netflix, and the third one is surviving, which is so true. But I feel like if I'm feeling down or just fatigued from Zoom or whatever, I like to delete all my social media apps, because I find social media is just so weird the time we're living in right now, like constantly scrolling, seeing what people are doing, like there's sad news, there's happy news. It's like so intense. So I feel like just deleting it all and just taking some time to do things like, I don't know, baking or whatever, I think is really good for your mental health.
And we'll talk about mental health and wellbeing a bit later on. But Amellia, same question to you really. You were new this academic year, so I imagine it's been a bit of a strange settling in period for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my role's the event manager, so events has been one of the toughest things to sort of keep people inspired by and interested in and engaged with, because as we know, just online events, everyone at the very beginning was kind of like up for it, but now obviously as time goes on, it's not the most social, so it has been difficult, and that's kind of what we've been working on, trying to find ways that we can still engage students that doesn't become cliche and boring and repetitive. So it's been tough, but it's just about thinking outside the box, really.
Yeah, obviously it's really important to be positive about this as well, because that's the way we have to be going forward. We have to approach it that way. Yeah. And we will be speaking about that in a bit. Same question to you as well then. They asked Meg, what do you do to switch off from all the strange things going on externally?
Yeah, I think the main thing is giving yourself time outside of the house, in the safest way possible. So I make sure that I schedule in going for walks, taking my mind away from screen time, put on a good playlist. I know it sounds cliche, but do some exercise, and that tends to keep me quite stimulated and positive, actually. And also writing down positive things. I've got into the habit of just sort of writing down the good things that are happening as opposed to the bad things that are happening, or your negative feelings, and just like really homing in on the nice things that are happening and appreciating those bits.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, look, we're about to kick off semester 2. So let's, like I say, approach this positively now. Vaccines are out. There's more of them all the time. Lockdown appears to be working. Things should be better by Easter, we would hope. So look, a perfect way to start this is a few more positive vibes with refreshers. Meg, what's the idea behind this?
Yeah, refreshers. Well, the whole point of refreshers is to give students like a second chance into like joining societies and things like that. Because obviously with the freshers event we had back in October, September time, students and societies were able to promote themselves, so students could join societies, make more friends, become part of these communities, and a lot of students may not have got the chance to do that the first time around, maybe because they were new, they didn't know where to go, they might have been nervous to do so. So this time around it's like a second chance, and for the first week or two, I think it's free for societies, for students to join societies, so they can try them out. They can try all of them out if they want. So it's just essentially a time where we promote all of the societies as much as we can, because the more students joining societies, the more students will make friends and build that community.
Amelia, what's on the agenda?
Yeah, so we've put together, this is for Refreshers Week alone, we've got some creative workshops happening, which so far seem quite popular, so do sign up. They're completely free. We've got them happening in 3 different topics. So we've got a music workshop where you can have a vocal class, or you can do some songwriting lessons and get some industry advice. We've got a dance workshop with Brendan Hansford, who is a Pineapple Studios choreographer, and he's also Sam Smith's choreographer. He did one of his music videos. And then we've got a West End workshop as well with Harry Francis, who's going to be doing a rendition from Cats. So we've got some really amazing people in. They'll be broken up into 3 parts. So you've got part 1, which is a physical workshop. Then you'll have a break. Part 2, which is all about careers advice, industry advice, all the questions that you want to ask, and you might be interested in that industry and not know how to sort of progress or move forward, so that there'll be loads of information there. And then part 3 will be a Q&A. So even if you're interested in just the first part, you can just go to the physical, or you can do the whole thing. But yeah, like I said, they're completely free, and there's some really amazing people that are running those. So that's what's on the agenda for Refreshers.
Yeah. How tough is it to be able to convince them to come in and do these workshops?
You know what? Everybody was quite keen. I mean, it is hard because a lot of the people I've spoken to have actually then gone on and said that they've got other things that they've got to go and do because they've got like big auditions and stuff like this. But they're all quite keen to get involved and give back to the community, give back to the students. So the people that we have secured are very excited to come in and show you all of the classes. So yeah.
And theatre is going to be a massive part of the COVID recovery when we finally can all get back into those auditoriums. Meg, has there been a difference this year in the number of people who've joined societies and sports clubs, do you think, because of the situation we're in?
Yeah, there definitely has. I've spoken to a lot of students and I've said, oh, have you joined a society? And they're like, are they still on? Are they still running? Because I think a lot of students will assume that they're not happening because societies meet up in person. Sport happens in person. Unfortunately, sport isn't happening at the moment due to the government guidelines, which is really sad. But the societies are still meeting on Zoom and doing their socials and things like that. It's really sad. The ones who normally perform, so the performance-based societies, they always meet in person, so they sing or dance or whatever, and that's really hard to do over Zoom, which is kind of why we decided to do these workshops, because it gives them the chance to like do their passions and get better at it. I've definitely bought tickets to all of them. They all look amazing. But yeah, no, there's definitely been a difference in memberships, but I think it's just about spreading the word. And also we're giving £50 incentives to societies if they put on a welcome event in the first week. So if they put on a welcome event, they'll get £50 for their society, which means they can buy equipment for their society when COVID eases, they can get speakers in and things like that. So we're just trying to stay positive, really.
There's also the virtual fairs as well. So how will they be working, Meg?
Yeah, so it's it's kind of going to be similar to the Freshers Fair we did back in September, October. And it's going to be a virtual fair called Reloaded. And it will kind of be like a swipe kind of scenario, whether it's on a phone, on a screen, you can swipe through the societies you want to get involved in. There's also categories, which makes it easy. So instead of having to, well, you can click on any and just swipe through every single one, or you can click on a category, whether it's culture, society, performance, skill-based, that kind of thing.
Cool. And LGBTQ History Month, also a big part of all of this. What's planned there?
Yeah, so we're heavily involved with the LGBTQ society because they're doing their own events, which is amazing. And we're also working with them on some stuff. We're doing a podcast with them, all about like positive and negative representation of the LGBT community in the media, which is going to be really interesting. Just about like the importance of it, stereotypes, stuff like that, like really interesting topics. So that's the main thing we're doing. We're also doing loads of stuff on our social media about movies to go and watch, books to read, podcasts to listen to, icons, LGBT icons, getting students involved, giving their favourite quotes by LGBT like activists. So all stuff like that. I mean, in normal times, we would be doing more in person, obviously, but we're sticking to doing it virtually.
Mm-hmm. And we'll have a podcast planned on that for a couple of weeks' time. So do keep an eye out for that. A question to both of you, really. Do you think we're all getting better at making the most of online social situations? Or are we getting a bit weary? We kind of mentioned it, touched on it right at the start, didn't we? Or maybe a bit of both, really. Certainly, online events now are a lot slicker than what they were when we first tried to adapt to this in March. What do you both think? Meg, maybe first of all.
I think we have gotten better at it. I think at first we didn't really know what we were doing, in terms of events right at the beginning, and now we are getting better at it. But in terms of Zoom fatigue, I think, as you were saying, Amelia, I think you just have to take screen breaks. Like, I'm the worst for that. Like, I can spend all just day on a screen and just eat my lunch at the computer, but it's not wise to do that. And I'm now doing the same thing, taking an hour in the day to, go on a walk and just take some time away. But I don't know. What do you think, Amelia?
I think we are. I think as long as you, kind of what I meant at the beginning was like, as long as you're creating events that are outside of the box and not just going for the sort of generic, quiz, and because I think that's what most people are. I think people are quizzed out. But when you put something that's engaging in front of them, maybe a class or a workshop, that's where people seem to be more engaged. I mean, even personally, I've been doing a lot of online fitness classes, which I've loved. I think they're really, really good. And it's something that I thought about the other day that I'll probably do after lockdown because they're so good. So I do think people are getting more engaged with online activity, depending on what it is, essentially. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. When you went into events, Amelia, do you think clearly the focus is always on physical events. I don't know how much experience you would have had of online events in the past. So you had to learn as well to change things. So you are trying to reinvent the wheel here because we need something, like you say, which is a little bit different to everything else which is going on, because otherwise you end up just having students as well they have their lectures, seminars online, tutorials online, and then they end up having someone else just talking at them in a social setting, and maybe that's not quite what they need when you're having downtime. So how difficult has it been actually to think about new ways of doing things? And the second part of that question would be, if you have touched upon something that's actually been pretty successful, even when we do go back to, when we do go back to some sort of resemblance of normal, might you be looking at maybe doing these online in the future? Because of course, a lot of our students also commute, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, there are some really incredible things you can do with online events, and there's ways you can make them physical. Just take our Halloween event. We actually had a really good turnout for that. Um, and they got a physical box filled with goodies. They got to, obviously, this is different because we were not so in lockdown, which it's harder when we're completely locked down. But when they're allowed to engage with their housemates, they had a box of goodies to share, loads of food vouchers. And so it's about taking the small physical elements and using that to your advantage. That's kind of what I've been trying to do. And for virtual events, it has been really hard. I haven't got any experience in virtual events before, but I really don't think that virtual events will ever stop, and I can see some real positives in running virtual events in the future, especially for those students that might have children or might not actually like going out, or might not like the drinking culture, because there's all different types of events. So I think it's a positive. And it's just about staying up to date with the technology, keeping yourself up to date with all the different things that you can implement to a virtual event, just to give it that extra physical feel. So it doesn't feel like you're just watching somebody on a screen, or that you're not actually involved. So did that answer both of those questions?
I think it did, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, well answered. The benefits of joining a society, Meg, really important, right? I mean, it's been a strange year for first years, especially, to get to know their peers. And this is a great way, because students, will want to hit the ground running again when restrictions do lift in a safe way. And we know that the likelihood is that things may not feel normal again, probably until, if we're realistic, somewhere near the next academic year.
Yeah, I mean, societies are so beneficial. I mean, when I was a student, I was in the musical theatre society, and it was like the best thing about my uni experience. Just a group of people you see every week, and they're like your community that you get to see every week. I mean, it's as simple as that. But I think when it opens up again, I think it will be so exciting for them, because they've been stuck on Zoom this whole time and they're kind of used to it. But when they say, right, you can go back in person now, you can do this, you can do that. I think the ideas they come up with are going to be so exciting and brilliant and refreshing.
Yeah. And I mean, they have, we all have our different support networks, but expanding that is also really important, just so you get a few different views as well, and you can maybe sort of thinking a little bit differently about things. To both of you, because it sort of leads on to a quick chat about wellbeing. Really, you'll have interactions with students on different levels. It'll be a mixed bag, and for some people, lockdown does work for them. This is not all negative, but for some it is really tough. So anecdotally, what sort of things are you hearing from students about how they're coping with their wellbeing, how they're managing their wellbeing?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing these welfare checks. So all of the SU, all the staff at the SU, our goal is to reach out to every single student via Teams, and we're basically just sending them a message to say, how are you? I know it's really hard at the moment, especially for students. If you ever want to have a call, then let us know. And we've been keeping track of that. A lot of students either don't reply, which is fine. Some students say, thank you so much, but I don't need the help right now. And others do need to talk, which has been so great. I mean, it hasn't been great, but it's been good that we've been able to hear their issues and we can actually help them and we can find solutions. So we've had loads of stuff like hardship funds. A lot of students haven't been able to get their computer working due to the Wi-Fi or whatever problems. We've been like, there's this access fund that you can apply for, which they didn't even know about. Things like that. Obviously just feeling demotivated. They've been unhappy with the quality of teaching, obviously with it being online, stuff like that. It's such a range, but it's been so nice being able to have that interaction with them, even though it's online.
And I guess this is the point as well, where, I mean, you are the student voice, and you are that conduit that we said before between the students and, you know, the university executive board, basically the university itself. So this is the point where that relationship is probably needs to be at its tightest, doesn't it? Because you need to work together to make sure that the students are well supported. At the same time, if students don't know about some of the wellbeing and support services that university does offer, but they've come to the student union first, you're able to direct them to those services so they can get help.
Yeah, definitely. Like, a lot of students don't even know that SSGTs are a thing, and it's good being able to tell them about those services. But yeah, no, it's been a really good thing. I think we were before Christmas, we'd reached 30% of students, and we've now contacted every student at Eastbourne. I think we're 60% through Grand Parade, and we've still got Moulsecoomb and Falmer to go.
I was just going to say, we have actually got wellbeing workshops as well happening, which is probably quite an important thing to highlight. So from the 22nd of February, we've got a 5-week campaign running, which is where we've got a workshop each week to touch on different areas, from managing anxiety and building confidence, to managing stress and workload, to how to take away and take breaks from social media and how that changes your brain. We've also got talking about Black mental health, suicide prevention training. There is so many different workshops happening. The timetable will be out very soon, and it's completely free. They're 2-hour sessions based on cognitive behavioural therapy, so it's ways that you can cope and during these times. So there's a check-in point each week for students and staff. You can be completely anonymous. You can just change your name and turn your camera off so no one will know you're there. And that's happening from the 22nd of Feb right to the end of term. So I was just going to say, look out for that timetable on our social media.
Great stuff. And so, yes, please do check the SU social media and also brightonsu.com as well. Before we go, just want to touch on the BSU elections. We're at that point of the year again where nominations are about to be put forward. Meg, your term is a long way from done yet, but how have you found it so far? I mean, you couldn't really have expected this year.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it at all. I mean, I thought I'd be like working from home for the first few months and then we'd be back on campus. So it has been hard in that way, and working from home has its perks and also has its downsides. But I feel like this role is so brilliant in the sense that you can communicate with students and you can relate to them. Like, I was a student just 6 months ago. I did my dissertation in a pandemic, so in a way I can relate to them in a bit. And you also build so many skills in this role that you never think you would. And you can, it's kind of weird because you can kind of have control of what you do. So if you're passionate about one thing, you can go and do that. If you're passionate about another thing, you can work with that person. I mean, the role of activities has been brilliant. Working with Amellia has been so great. She's so good at what she does, and I've learned so much from her. So yeah, you just learn so much in this role, building friendships with people you work with, and the support this SU gives you is incredible. So it's been really great.
Thank you, both of you, for your time. I hope you managed to get on campus very soon. Yeah. You can find out more about Refreshers, which runs from Monday, the 8th of February at brightonsu.com, and keep an eye on social media as well. Get involved. Some great stuff planned, as we've been hearing. That's it for this week's podcast. Thanks for listening.